Marty! You've got to come back with me. Where? Back to the future.
You know the car, you know the clock tower, you know the line, Great Scott.
Oh, great Scott!
But do you know the chaos it took to bring Back to the Future to life? Behind the scenes of this 1985 sci-fi adventure lies a story packed with wild casting swaps, studio sabotage, and literal time wasting. What you saw on screen was slick and seamless, but off camera, it was anything but. From an actor who got erased from history to a DeLorean that barely worked, these are the top 10 bizarre behind-the-scenes secrets you never knew about. Back to the Future. Strap in. The flux capacitor's primed. Let's go back to the facts. Michael J. Fox wasn't the original Marty McFly. That honor went to actor Eric Stoltz. In fact, they shot 5 whole weeks of footage with Stoltz as the lead. Full sets, action scenes, even time travel moments. But there was a problem. Stoltz was a method actor. He insisted on being called Marty on and off set. He avoided jokes. He gave emotional takes. But none of it was funny. Director Robert Zemeckis and producer Bob Gale knew the tone was off, but replacing a lead actor mid-production? Nearly unheard of. Still, they made the call. Stoltz was out. Enter Michael J. Fox, their original choice, who finally became available thanks to his TV schedule. Overnight, the crew reshot massive scenes. The cost? Over $3 million. Today, a few of Stoltz's scenes still remain in the final cut. Blurry punches, backs of heads. But Marty McFly, as we know him, he almost never existed. It's one of cinema's most iconic time machines. The silver DeLorean with its gull-wing doors and radioactive flare. But originally, the time machine wasn't a car at all. In early drafts, it was a refrigerator. Yes, Doc Brown and Marty were supposed to climb inside a lead-lined fridge to jump through time, with the power supplied by a nuclear explosion. The change to a car happened late in the writing process. Zemeckis worried kids might crawl into refrigerators trying to time travel. Plus, the DeLorean's design looked futuristic and sleek. And the famous out-of-time license plate? Total afterthought, but became a collector's item. The DeLorean's original creator, John DeLorean, was so flattered he wrote a letter thanking the filmmakers. His car may have flopped in real life, but it became immortal on screen.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Emmett Brown. I'm standing on the parking lot at Twin Pines Mall. It's Saturday morning, October 26, 1985, 1:18 a.m.
Christopher Lloyd's manic, wild-eyed performance as Doc Brown is legendary. But here's the twist. He didn't always understand what he was saying. The script was loaded with pseudoscience, flux capacitors, and time loops. Lloyd didn't get most of it, and he didn't try to. Instead, he focused on rhythm, energy, and volume. He memorized lines like musical beats. When asked what a flux capacitor was, he shrugged and said, "I have no idea. Ask Bob Zemeckis." And yet, it worked. Doc's mad scientist energy comes from Lloyd's commitment to the performance, not the science. He played it as a man who believed in everything he was saying, whether he understood it or not. Ironically, that clueless confidence is what made Doc so believable. The iconic lightning strike at the Hill Valley Clock Tower? That wasn't just a dramatic climax. It was the scene that shaped the entire movie. Writers Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis started with that single idea. What if lightning could power time travel? They worked backward from that moment. How would Marty get there? Why would the lightning strike matter? What if he arrived a week before the strike and had to wait it out? The entire script was reverse engineered to make the ending possible. Even the 88 miles per hour speed was calculated to match the DeLorean's capabilities, making the final scene feel plausible. So when you watch Marty racing toward the cable as lightning strikes, know that everything from plot to pacing existed just to make that moment hit.
Change your heart to a little white dove.
The song The Power of Love is forever tied to Back to the Future. But Huey Lewis almost said no. The producers asked him to write a theme song. Lewis was hesitant. He didn't want to write a song called Back to the Future. He didn't do film soundtracks, so they said, just write a Huey Lewis song. We'll make it fit. He handed them The Power of Love, a song that had nothing to do with time travel. They used it in the opening scene and it exploded. It hit #1 on the Billboard charts, got nominated for an Oscar, and boosted the film's cool factor. And Lewis himself? He cameos as the high school teacher who says Marty's band is just too darn loud.
My name is Lorraine. Lorraine Baines?
Leah Thompson famously played Lorraine, Marty's mom, but originally, she was supposed to play both Lorraine and Jennifer, Marty's girlfriend. The idea was to visually show Marty's type, that he was drawn to women who looked like his mother. It was a subtle Freudian joke. They filmed early tests with Thompson playing both roles using split screens. In the end, they dropped it. The effect felt weird, too distracting. So Claudia Wells was cast as Jennifer, and Thompson stuck to playing young and older versions of Lorraine. Still, the resemblance was no accident. And that kiss between Lorraine and Marty at the prom? One of the most awkward scenes in movie history, made even weirder when Thompson joked that it felt like kissing her own son.
Okay, now, what happens to us in the future? What do we become, assholes or something? Oh, no!
While filming Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox was also starring in the hit TV show Family Ties. His schedule was brutal. He'd shoot the sitcom from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., then head straight to the movie set, where he'd film Back to the Future scenes from 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. He lived on coffee and catnaps in his trailer. Sometimes he filmed until dawn, then went straight to sitcom rehearsals. Fox later said he has no memory of filming some scenes because of sleep deprivation. But his energy on screen, you'd never guess. That's why he looks wide-eyed and panicked, because he actually was. One studio executive, Sid Sheinberg, thought Back to the Future was a terrible title. He suggested the film be renamed Spaceman from Pluto, referencing the comic Marty shows his dad in 1955. Zemeckis and Spielberg were baffled, but instead of arguing, Spielberg wrote a memo back saying, "Thank you for the wonderful joke memo. We all got a good laugh." By framing it as a joke, they saved the title. Sheinberg was too embarrassed to admit he was serious. Crisis averted. Because let's be honest, would you watch a trilogy called Spaceman from Pluto? October 26, 1985. The date Marty first travels through time. Seems random, right? But early drafts of the script had Marty travel on November 5, 1955 and return on November 22, 1985. That's the same date as President John F. Kennedy's assassination in 1963. A detail that raised eyebrows when the sequel referenced the alternate 1985 being a dystopia. The filmmakers decided to avoid the date altogether to prevent unwanted conspiracy theories. Still, some fans believe the film hides clues about real-life events, including time travel conspiracies, secret societies, and hidden messages. Too bizarre? Maybe. But then again, this movie is about rewriting